Hello, everybody, and welcome to our final webinar of the 2023 year. We are going to be talking about refreshable reporting today in Dynamics 365 Business Central, and we have one of our excellent consultants, John Ellis, to talk us through that. Go ahead,
Thank you
John.
for that. Thank you for that, Tony. I really appreciate that nice introduction and everything. So everyone, as Tony just said, I'm going to be showing Excel refreshable reporting derived out of Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central. And what I wanted to reiterate, frankly, has to do with a couple of things. The fact that, well, for the second time now, it's Excel refreshable reporting, meaning that you have not just the most up-to-date Business Central data residing within Excel, but you can keep that spreadsheet, save that spreadsheet on your desktop or the network or whatever, and maybe later on in the week or the month reopen it and look at the data without having to view the data within Business Central. In other words, you don't have to log into Business Central, just have the refreshable report, the refreshable spreadsheet right there at your fingertips, kind of like, at least depending on what you do in your business role on a daily basis, it's kind of like having a mini ERP right there at your fingertips. Just open the Excel spreadsheet rather than accessing the data necessarily from within Business Central. Now, again, that's the first thing I wanted to say, just the complete emphasis on the refreshable capability of the data within Excel, the forever refreshable capability, since I'm going to be showing you how to use a Business Central web service to accommodate all this. The other thing I wanted to say is that I'm going to show specifically what to do within the Excel spreadsheet in order to see the data that you need in one compact place. Specifically, it's called a card within Microsoft Excel. I guess that's a kind of a semi-fancy way of saying you'll see all of your data within one rectangle in the view within the Excel refreshable report, rather than having to scroll column by column to see important pieces of data, whether those important pieces of data might be contact information, the standard email address, phone number, mobile phone number even, or address. What I'm getting at in the scenario that I'm going to be showing here is, let's say that you are a collections manager, obviously in the sales department, and you need to keep up to date with the balances of different customers, especially those who are falling so far behind to the point where you need to see not just very quickly those balances for the customers that reside within Business Central, but also very quickly have the contact information, again, to use the expression I used earlier, right at your fingertips. And again, housed within a concise card within Microsoft Excel. Now, as I said earlier, we're going to be using a web service within Business Central to accommodate all of this. Now, the beginning of what I'm going to show here is probably going to be, for most people, is probably going to be pretty daunting, a little overwhelming. It was for me when I was first learning about the use of web services and taking essentially the web service and putting it in Excel. But don't let it scare you. For one thing, if you have access to this recording in YouTube where we're going to place it, you can always come back to this recording, yeah, because it's very easy to forget all this stuff, for one thing. And secondly, as you're working through, if it seems overwhelming, just continue to use the YouTube video. Just use this video. Because, like I said, I even felt a little overwhelmed when learning about this. So let's go ahead and kind of get to the crux of the matter, so to speak, and take a look at all of this within Business Central. I'm in a sample company here excuse me, our Bond Consulting Services demo environment. So let me do this, everyone. I'm simply going to click the search button in the upper right corner, the very handy search button you can use to look up anything you need within Business Central, from a navigation standpoint. If you don't know how to get somewhere, just type a handful of characters. I want to go to the web services window, so I'll just type web S-space-S-E-R. Sure enough, there we have, among other things, our selection, web services. Now, earlier, I had mentioned that as I called it, the scenario that I want to show has to do with, if you're a collections manager. So, what better way to look up things like, contact information and customer balance and things along those lines than within the customer card of Business Central? Now, the web service for the customer card is found simply by clicking the search button here in the upper left of web services and typing in customer card, of course. Whoops, if I could spell today. There we go. So we've got our record here for the web service pertaining to Business Central's customer card, Business Central's master data window for customers. So in order to take, in essence, this web service, this data, and place it in Excel for refreshable capability, as well as, again, just seeing things in one spot that you can take for business you have to take care of quickly. Simply do this, everyone. You'll click the URL, the web link that appears in the column that says OData V4 URL here. We're going to click on this. Now, it's not going to show a whole heck of a lot here initially. In fact, what you'll do next is you'll simply click the cancel button here on this sign in to access this site window. Just hit cancel. And up top in the web browser in the address, you'll of course see the link. You're just going to do, as I am, Control C here on your keyboard to paste the link to the clipboard. We're going to close out of this tab and we'll come back to all this later, but I'm going to get out of the web services window. With the link, again, firmly copied to the clipboard, I'm going to go to my open Excel spreadsheet. And then, following along, everyone, I'm going to click the data menu selection and choose over here on the far left, Get Data. Now, it is, as I sort of said, an OData link. It's OData feed. So in order to take that particular link and paste it here in Excel to derive the data, in choosing get data, we're going to choose from other sources. And you probably already gathered where I'm going next, from OData feed. It's going to bring up, choosing this rather, is going to bring up a small window called OData feed. There we go. And I'm going to do Control V to paste the URL that we copied. Nice. And I'm going to, of course, hit OK. Now, in a few moments or so, we're going to see another window here that, yeah, here we go. It's kind of it's a preview window. It's showing the customer master data, typical things that you would see here, the ID, the name of the customer, and, all sorts of information. For example, I'm not going to scroll to the right like I could, but you see the outlier of the balance column showing how much, so to speak, behind the customer is in making their payments. Now, the next thing we're going to do, everyone, is we're going to click the Transform Data button, and I'll explain why. We could click Load, but I want to click Transform Data. Nothing wrong with clicking Load, but I want to create that nice, concise card where you'll see everything in one fell swoop for for your service as a collections manager for your company or organization. So let's click on Transform Data. Now, where this is going to take us is, as it says in the upper left, the Power Query Editor. For those of you who use Microsoft Power BI and know it pretty well, Power Query Editor should sound very familiar. In fact, even the Transform Data button should sound very familiar because it takes us to, in essence, a spot where we can do things like editing the format of the data, having an easy method of, say, removing either rows you don't need or columns that you don't need very quickly. It just makes it easier to work with the data before going into, in the case of Power BI, the Power BI report canvas. You can go ahead and format, remove columns you don't need, remove rows you don't need, that sort of thing before going to the trouble of, so to speak, seeing all that data when you're just doing nice Power BI stuff like adding visualizations, KPIs, charts. You see all the data you really didn't need in the first place, and you go, gee, I didn't want all this. So anyway, I'm sorry. That's where we're at. So what we're going to do here specifically for Excel in the Power Query Editor is we're going to select columns of data, fields of data. And I'm going to use the control button on my keyboard to do this. So the ID, the all important customer ID from Business Central number is selected. I'm holding the control key. And now next, I'm going to click the search name field. I'm going to scroll over to select a few key fields that are very important in our job as the collections manager. I'm going to hit Control Salesperson Code, scroll over to get to the address and other contact information. Take a few moments or so to do this. Okay, so here we are. We see address, address to, skip over country, city, state. It says county, but in Business Central, it really is state and not county. Postal code or zip code. Let's scroll over to get to the phone number information. So we're going to do phone number, mobile phone number, and email address. There's one more column I'm going to choose. I'm going to scroll back to the far left here, everyone, and still control key and name. I'll explain a little later on why I selected name last. There was a very good reason for that. Most people would say, okay, we got the number highlighted, so let's hit control, name, and then search name, and then address. No, I saved name for last for a very good reason. I'll talk about it later. Let's, in the meantime, everyone, with all the columns selected, let's go ahead and click the transform menu selection in the upper left. And on the far right, we're going to click create data type. In the window that's getting ready to come up, okay, yeah, we're going to essentially, there's just one thing we're going to do. It's not hard. We're not going to mess with, so to speak, this window too much. We just want to give a name for the column that is going to house all of this information we just selected, all the contact information that we just selected, including the salesperson code. I want it housed in one specific card in Excel. So that particular column name containing that card is going to be called customers. So I'm going to type customers. Could name it anything I want, but let's just say, as it says here, customers. I'm going to click the OK button, wait for a few moments or so. So far, so good because of one simple thing. If you've done this right so far to this point, you will see a double-headed arrow button here in the new column you created. I just created the column called customers. I'll explain more or show more about the functionality in a few moments or so. But again, so far so good since we see this double-headed arrow. The next thing we want to do, it's very simple. We're going to click the home menu and say close and load. So again, wait for a few moments or so, and specifically look here to the far right, everyone, in the queries and connections window. It's pulling the data from Business Central. It's saying here X amount of meg, excuse me, or whatever. Okay, so we have, now that it says 95 rows loaded over here on the far right, we are now here, or I'm sorry, over here on the left, we see our data. One thing I want to point out here in the balance column, column E, we see again all the customer or several customers, I should say, at the beginning here who owe a lot of money. In particular, the second customer who owes $76,000. Wow. Yeah, we really need to try to contact him and get him or her, the contact person with this customer, to see about either paying or making payment arrangements. So, guys, you'll notice once again the first column called customers that we created. And let me do this. I'm going to click the icon, and you can even see when I hover, it says show card. The icon to the left of customer ID 20,000, the second customer here. And look at what we have right here at again, to use the expression, at our fingertips. We have most everything we need for contacting the customer, if not everything. We see the name, Trey Research, salesperson code is salesperson number 5. Obviously, that would be a name, probably in the real world. And then we have the address, 153 Thomas Drive, Chicago, and all of that, even email addresses. So yeah, this John Ellis guy with Bond Consulting Services, man, what a deadbeat. I don't know about you guys, but yeah, he's just, I don't know what to say about him other than he really needs to get a job or something, pay his bills. But anyway, yeah, obviously that's my email address just for demo purposes and everything. So, but you know what? We're not going to mess with emailing. We're certainly not going to mess with snail mailing to the address we see here. What we want to do, of course, as any collections manager usually would do, is we want to make a phone call, whether it be to the phone number or the mobile phone number. But you know what? As we see here, they're both blank. This is, it's all well and good that we've got a nice, concise card here. I don't have to scroll to the right to the address or the email address or normally to the phone number or mobile phone number to look this up. It's all well and good, but hey, we don't have this here. Now I'm going to show you, because of this, I'm going to show you the refreshable capability and the nice thing about having the refreshable capability. Again, the collections manager, she may not go into Business Central very much. If they do, maybe they just look up things, reports and so forth. So heck, we don't care about accessing Business Central on a daily basis. I would just delegate the idea of making sure that phone numbers are up to date for all customers. I would say, as the manager, I would say to someone, so to speak, underneath me in the business, I would say, hey, can you take some time, please, to go into Business Central and just get the data updated, get the customer, phone numbers, email addresses, ideally phone numbers for quick contact, up to date so I can start calling some of these customers, not just number 2 here, but the first customer listed, the third one, fourth one, fifth, they're all behind. So anyway, let's just pretend that we've delegated that task, said to someone, hey, please update Business Central with phone numbers. That's all well and good. And let me show an example of that. Let me bring back up Business Central here, and I'm going to go to the customer's master link here, or shortcut bookmark to the in the upper left. Now, in this case, again, just pretend that I'm someone in collections, but not the manager, and I've been tasked with updating phone numbers. Okay, obviously all of them may need to be updated, but let's just do, for the sake of this example, Trey Research here. So Trey Research, yeah, and there we see that $76,000 amount. So let's do this. Right here, we see the mobile phone number field. Let's say we did, through whatever means, online or whatever, got the phone number. I'm going to go ahead and type it here. It's a fake number, to be truthful, but anyhow, just for the sake of this demonstration. So got the phone number filled. As with anything else in Business Central, we see that this has been saved, or is saved. Sorry, I was clicking on the saved up here in the upper right. So it's saved, all well and good. Let's go ahead and just back out of the customer card, go back to the Roll Center or home page. So that information is in. Let's do this next, everyone. I am going to, it's all well and good to have that information, but let's just say that this spreadsheet has been open for a while, it hasn't been closed even over the course of a day or so. Let's refresh it because in order to see the data by clicking the card, this needs to be refreshed in some form, either closed out and reopened later or something along those lines. If that hasn't been done, no worries. Just go ahead and click the data menu and click either the refresh all button or just hit refresh all and then refresh all. Then guys, look back over here on the right in queries and connections. It's refreshing. 16 kilobytes, 76, well, 1.46 meg. So it's all pulling the latest information from Business Central. Let's go back here and click on the icon for the customer. We see the card here, and let's just see. Yeah, sure enough, now we've got the mobile phone number. We have refreshed this spreadsheet and have now the latest data from Business Central that allows us to do our job here as the collections manager. So just to recap here, folks, we've discussed the importance of having refreshable Excel reporting derived from Business Central. We took it one step further, however. We created this card here so that we can have all the data right here in one spot. We don't, no one wants to keep, looking at, okay, customer number 20,000. Let me scroll over to find his or her address, and phone numbers and so forth. We got it right here, and we can click on this for all, each of these customers as we're making phone calls for anyone who has a balance. So again, Excel refreshable reporting, many different ways of doing it. I showed just one way here through the web service with the idea of creating an interactive card based on data that has been updated within Business Central. Very good, everyone. I want to thank all of you for your time. Tony, again, thank you for facilitating all this. And if there are any questions or anything, any thoughts of any sort, I showed my email address here. I was obviously making a joke by saying, hey, this guy doesn't pay his bills. But anyway, J. Ellis at bondconsultingservices.com. Feel free to reach out that way, of course, or contact Tony. Go to our website, contact there. We'll definitely get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you, everyone. And again, thank you, Tony.